Hello everyone, this is Adrian at First Thinkers. In this video, we will be talking about what to expect when you work at a Title I school in elementary. So maybe if you're any teacher that's thinking about working at a Title I school, or you're just curious about the differences that happen when you work at a Title I school compared to a non-Title I school, this is the video for you. Now the first thing we're going to talk about is salary. When you work at a Title I school, you may get additional compensation due to additional funds being sent to your school by the federal government. Now at my district, I get an additional $1,000 a year for working at a Title I school. Now this is paid to me in December, and then it's also paid to me in June. So they want to make sure that you complete your year, so they spread it out. That's all the additional compensation I get. Maybe we do get a little bit of extra funding for like supplies for our classroom, but it's really not a lot. Maybe I get like $250 at the beginning of the year, an additional like $120 in the middle of the year, and then like $120 at the end of the year. So you'd maybe get some personal payment for income, like a stipend like I get, and then you also get maybe additional funds for your classroom. Now, if you have any student loans, you may also qualify for a student loan forgiveness in a certain way. I don't know the details specifically on that. I know there were some programs before, and I know there's a public service loan forgiveness program right now. So in the description below, I will link to the studentloan.gov website where you can check all the different plans that the government has to forgive your student loans. Now, talking about funding, you may also have additional support staff at your school. So that may be in this form of paraprofessionals. I had lots of more paraprofessionals that helped with outside duties, that helped with small groups, that helped with interventions. They were great. That was awesome to have, and we definitely needed at Title I school. You may also have a lot more social workers. So like I know at my non-Title I school, we only had a part-time social worker, and at my current school, we have 2 social workers. One that teaches a class on mindfulness for our students that we get like a block for, and then one that's just to help students in social needs. So that's an additional way that we could have that funding benefit us, is through additional support staff. Now let's talk about parental support. When you're working at a Title I school, a lot of these schools it's Title I because you're in a poverty area. So many parents don't have maybe the ability to support you as a teacher. They can't come in and volunteer time that you might be used to. They can't buy supplies for their students at the beginning of the year. They might not have attendance for parent-teacher conferences or back to school night. So there's just a lot of different things that you should not expect parents to do that you might have to fill in the gaps for. Now, a benefit you might have with this though is you will probably have a lack of helicopter parents. Without parental involvement as much, there won't be as many parents that are drilling you down. Now, I won't say that there won't be some, but in my years of teaching at a Title I school, I've had parents be thankful, appreciative, grateful that I'm helping their students, and I've even had a parent invite me to their house to have dinner with them because they wanted to thank me so much. But I have not had any helicopter parents. Now, I've been lucky because I do know some colleagues that have had some parents that drill them down and ask questions which I mean, it's great to ask questions, but it's way beyond that. They are kind of obsessive, and it just makes your life so much harder. So you will have a lack of that. So that can be a pro and a con with parental involvement. Now, one book that's really helped me with teaching at a Title I school and helped me understand how it is for students in poverty is this book called Reaching and Teaching Students in Poverty by Paul Gorski. One thing he talks about in this book is how the societal systems in place that make it harder for these students to learn and to have a safe place. And then also how we can, as instructors, teach grit for our students. That yes, they are struggling in certain ways in their life. Maybe their mom and dad are never at home, or they have no food at home, but how we can persevere through these and they can defeat these challenges with grit. Another big thing he mentions in this book is about how we should be rewarding effort and not intelligence. Because you're going to have a lot of students when they're in Title I schools, they're going to be way below the grade level what they should be. And teaching that grit, if you work through it, if you persevere, you can accomplish what you need, rather than a lot of students are going to say, I'm dumb, I can't do it. And so he talks about a lot of different things on how we can better serve this community and our students. And I highly recommend this book if you're even thinking about working at a Title I school. I'll put a link below if you are interested in it. All right, let's talk about students you'll have at a Title I school in elementary. Many of the students that you have at a Title I school may be under academic performance. You'll have a lot of red students. A lot of these students don't have maybe educational support at home. I've had numerous students tell me they don't have books at home. I ask them about reading every day and they don't have any books. And so I get our social worker to help us by being able to donate books to our students. So a lot of students come in pretty low. Like in my first grade classroom this year, I've had a lot of students don't even know their letter names or sounds at all. And you just have to go back to preschool and kindergarten material and you go back up. So low students could be an issue. Another thing you may have is behavior issues in your classroom. This could be due to maybe physical abuse, mental, sexual abuse, could be trauma that's at home. Could also be just basic needs not being met, like clothing, hygiene, or food. A lot of students, when they come into my classroom, we provide breakfast in the classroom. And if I have a student come in late, and even though I put my breakfast back in the hall for the cafeteria workers to bring back, I'll make sure to hurry and grab another breakfast for them to make sure that they've eaten, because a lot of students come in not having eaten. And so because of that, you may have a lot of students act out. Maybe a lot of students also don't get any attention at home. So maybe they're babysitting their brothers or sisters, or their mom and dad are always working, and so they have a babysitter and they don't have that physical, that connection with their parent as much, and so they want to take it out when they come out to school, or they're just calling for help pretty much. All right, so you can have certain behaviors at school as well with the Title I. So with any hard class that you have, you need to have a good routine, and you need to have lots of structure for these students, because they don't get that at home. If they're not getting it at home, they're going to be craving it at school. So every good classroom management system has good structure and good routine, but it's crucial to be successful at a Title I school. Now, my last thing I wanted to talk about while working at a Title I school in an elementary is admin. How it is for you as a teacher, what kind of responsibilities you might have and what administration might expect of you. Many schools that are in a Title I might be in turnaround. I know here in the state of Utah we call it turnaround, where we get like below a certain grade, the state steps in and sends in supports and everything. And so when that happens, you're going to have additional meetings, like you may have an additional faculty meeting once a week, and then you're going to have a lot more observations from state coming in, and you're going to have lots of plans you're going to have to go through, like lesson plans. It's a lot of work, and what they're trying to do is get you back up to meeting a certain level. And it's kind of hard, because you may feel like you're doing everything you can as a teacher, but you know the basic needs of your students, or something outside of you is really affecting your students, but the state just drills it on you. And so that can be really tiring, and that's why a lot of teachers have a hard time when they come to Title I. Now, luckily my school right now is not. We are above the grade that we need to be, and so with that, it's more relaxed, where we just do our teaching and we have our PLCs and all that, and we don't have to have all those additional supports, which those supports are nice, but it can be really taxing and draining and kind of increase burnout. So many teachers leave to go to a non-Title I school due to that. So just keep that in mind, where you may have more responsibilities, you may have more observations, you may have more meetings at a Title I school. So I hope that helped you get some insight on what it's like to work at a Title I school in elementary. I will absolutely say I love working at a Title I. When I first started my teaching career, I worked at a non-Title I school, and there's some great perks to working at a non-Title I school. But when I went to a Title I school, I just felt more appreciated by family members. My kids, especially as a male teacher in the lower grades, because I'm in K through 2, I just get a lot of these kids don't have male role models. I just felt like I'm filling a role for them, and I just feel much more where I can make a change at a Title I school than I can over at a non-Title I school. Now, if you have any more questions about working at a Title I school in elementary, be sure to comment below, and I'll be happy to reply. Until then, I will see you in the next video.